I think everybody knows Chris, long-term member of Kiwanis. That's right, who? But Chris has been at the helm of the city now for over 5 years, has done a phenomenal job with it. Before that was assistant city manager, has been assistant to the city manager, which is a position that you really get to see a lot of the inner workings. And then spent a lot of different time in different departments and began at the city in '97. He's a Jonesboro native, Crockett grad, ETSU grad, spent some time at Northeast State and is a big advocate of both Northeast State and ETSU and the value they add to this area. And let's just give Chris, one of our own, a big Kiwanis welcome.
All right. Well, thank you. When John was up here introducing the guests and talking about the dynamic program, I immediately looked to see if I'd had the wrong date. But I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity. As Ryan stated, we had an opportunity, as we do every year, to deliver the State of City presentation at Metaview. A tremendous amount of time goes into the preparation for this. A lot really with the book that we put at everybody's seat. And I got up that morning, poured myself a cup of coffee, reviewed my speech, sat down, and within probably about 15, 20 minutes, I had an allergic reaction. Never had one in my life. Began to quickly realize that there was probably not going to be any way that I was going to be able to deliver this presentation. So I still, though, I got dressed, I went to Metaview. Ryan comes out, meets me at the car, and he said, I think I can do this if you don't feel like you can. And so we're talking, and he said, here's kind of how it's going to go down, Chris. Either you're going to rally, you're going to get in there and deliver this, or you're going to hand it to me, and I'm going to deliver it. But there's also a possibility at the end of the day, both of us are fired. At that point, I managed my way into the building, thinking that it might be in our best interest, but ultimately handed over to Ryan. Ryan did a great job of presenting that day, and I greatly appreciate him stepping in. So this is my inaugural run on this, so you guys are it. So we'll walk through, we'll begin kind of with a financial overview. You see the pyramid here, the kind of the hierarchy of needs. Throughout the presentation today, I will hit on many of these areas to kind of give you an overview of some of the things that we are working on. Obviously, there is a lot going on in the city of Kingsport. It is impossible to bring that to you or anyone else in a 30-minute presentation, but hopefully today you'll get a good understanding of kind of where we're at on a variety of things. From a financial standpoint, we have a little over $25 million in our rainy day fund. Our property tax dollars came in a little bit higher than anticipated. That's good because we're still pulling ourselves out of the ratio appraisal that hit a couple years ago. That knocked $3.8 million of property tax revenue out of our budget. And so that was a significant hit. So we're still kind of rallying from that. Sales tax for the first time in several years kind of plateaued in terms of the dollars that were coming in off that. However, 3 months into this year in terms of collected revenue, we're exceeding budget, which is a very good sign. And we also have several new stores either online now or coming online in the next several months that I think will help greatly impact that as well. We continue to have a very favorable rating in the eyes of Wall Street in terms of our Moody's and S&P rating. Our debt limit continues to be at 5.7, which is below the self-imposed 10% limit of the total assessed value of our city. And we continue to be recognized for our distinguished budgets as well as the audits that we put together. So all in all, the financial health of your city remains very strong. A couple of things to point out though. We, just like each and every one of us in our personal lives, are hit by inflation. We continue to see the impact of that in all aspects of what we do, especially in vehicles and especially in some of the larger vehicles that we buy in order to provide a service to the city. 50, 60, 70% inflation from over the last 5 years in those areas. So that has a huge impact on a lot of what we do. In addition to that, we continue to have a very tight labor market. The days of being able to put out a job advertisement, have 30, 40, 50 people apply, doesn't exist. We are hopeful in many situations that we can get 4 to an interview. Maybe out of that, we've got 2 that we can hire. This is especially true in the police department. We recently made some significant adjustments in terms of their pay in order to be competitive and really, in a lot of ways, to reposition ourselves as the front runner in Northeast Tennessee for pay and benefits within that group. We were down about 19 officers going into the end of July. We've whittled that down, and we're on pace to be fully staffed by the end of this fiscal year. So a lot of work has gone into that. We also have had a lot of success this year in terms of dollars coming in to supplement many of the capital projects that I'll review with you. Since January, we have been able to bring in over $20 million in grants, donations, or special appropriations into a variety of things. A whole host of individuals inside the city, outside the city have helped with that. But in my time here with the city of Kingsport dating back to '97, I do not remember a time when we were able to bring in that much money for a variety of projects. So that has been a huge lift for us. Continues to be a major priority in all aspects of what we do. So you are familiar with Kingsport Spirit. You understand that that is in many ways kind of our charge each and every day. We aspire to put service above self, and we do that in a variety of ways. Over the last several years, as we've presented this, I've talked a lot about our proud moments. And so I want to kind of walk through some of the things that we've been successful with this year. First hazmat team in the state of Tennessee to receive the level 2 designation. Our fire department continues to excel at a very, very, very high level. I had an opportunity to visit many of those individuals when they were in Unicoi and Washington County during the Hurricane Helene events. We probably deployed somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 to 80 firefighters at different times throughout the 2-week period that we were down there. They brought in a level of expertise that was really unrivaled with anything in the region. It was supplemented by larger entities, larger cities coming in to help, but they provided a huge amount of expertise in that area. We've been recognized by the Chancellor for the Tennessee Board of Regents for the work that we have done with the Academic Village. Many of you all in here have been major players in that. As part of your trivia questions about RCAT, when it opened up, the Higher Ed Center, probably somewhere in the neighborhood of $25 million has been invested in there, and we're in the process of having a conversation and hope to close in the next 30 to 60 days on some additional property with Northeast State to continue expanding that. Bays Mountain Park. You're going to hear a lot about Bays Mountain Park over the next several years, as you should. This is a crown jewel for the city of Kingsport. It has been for decades, but it has been the focus of a tremendous amount of reinvestment. If you're up there, you're going to be walking through a construction site, almost guaranteed, but that's a positive thing as we continue to make a lot of enhancements there. We recently received one of the largest Tennessee TDEC through the local Park and Rec Fund grants that has ever been issued. $2.9 million came into the city of Kingsport. We were able to take that grant money, leverage that with donations that have been given to the park, and then leverage that with city dollars to create a total project of $5.8 million. Those dollars will begin going into new exhibits, most notably the new otter habitat. But we're also going to carve a little bit of those dollars out, and we did this in the application, to begin making our way up towards the top of Cement Hill. This is a project that we have recently created a master plan for. We're beginning to go through the design process. We have another grant that we'll be announcing hopefully here by the end of the year, which is not too much further, but it's about a $500,000 grant that will allow us to also begin to put some capital expenditures into Cement Hill, primarily in hiking and biking trails within that area. The farmers market. This was a project. Ryan mentioned that one of my first moves into administration was as the assistant to. And when you're the assistant to John Campbell, it takes on a completely different meaning, okay? I had not been in John's office for very long. Of course, known John. He was a professor of mine at ETSU. And so right about that time, we had purchased Kingsport Press, where we're sitting right now, for $1. And we were beginning the process of redeveloping this site. And so John sent me and one other individual within our organization over there to try to manage it, really hold it together until we could begin selling it. John was out selling it to anybody and everybody he could get in front of. But one of the opportunities that we really never saw coming was in a conversation with Food City about the farmers market and where it could potentially go and how that could be positioned on the site. Today, Southern Living views it as one of the top 12 within the South. I see many of you all there on a Saturday morning. It is a dynamic spot. It is clearly the leader in our region and obviously being recognized across the Southeast. Again, talking a lot about grants. Bays Mountain got a $75,000 grant. Small amount in the grand scheme of some of the things we've talked about, but this was very instrumental in getting ADA parking to the Farmstead Museum, which is an area we really want to get additional usage out of. Once again, our police department was honored, as they are multiple times throughout the year, this time with Detective Viewing and his work that he does with domestic abuse and domestic violence. This came through the Branch House. Very, very rewarding award for him. Just a great guy in general. In addition to that, our own Stephen Bauer went through the process of completing his state certification for economic development. He's now moving on for his national certification. The Kingsport Connect app. If you don't have that app downloaded, if you're not familiar with that app, this has become something that we have really generated a tremendous amount of pride in. When we first rolled that out, it's like anything, will it take? Will people have any interest in it? Over 25,000 downloads, I think. Yeah, 27,000 issues resolved. If you want to get something fixed in the city of Kingsport, you can call an elected official, you can call City Hall, or you can enter it in this app. It will be fixed faster by entering it in the app than it will be if you call us. And that's simply because it goes directly to the entity that is responsible for doing the work. It is an amazing efficiency. We're continuing to push this out even more and more. And this is also an opportunity, kind of gives you a portal into all of the things that we do throughout the city. We'll talk more about utilities, but utilities, especially in light of what has happened around us, one of the most vital assets that we have, group led by Ryan McReynolds, they continue to just do an outstanding job and the recognition for great work that they're doing. Kingsport Library, this is a, I figured Gail would be excited. This is a project that we have been working on for quite some time. In fact, it really goes back even when John was city manager about looking at what we could do within this space. We've looked at a lot of different things. We finally settled on a design plan. Had an opportunity a few days ago with our assistant manager, Michael Borders, to do a digital fly-through of the library and the renovations to that space. We hope that begins in January. We have plans to move into the Fort Henry Mall for the next couple of years. But one of the great things about this project, and really one of the things that helped solidify it moving forward, was the ability to get a $2 million grant from the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development. This is a Tennessee Connect grant. It's designed at looking at spaces that can help with digital connectivity within the city of Kingsport. And so this really helped move that project over the edge, and we're excited about it moving forward. So we'll run through several projects now that we're working on and give you an idea of some of the things that we have going on. Again, talking about Bays Mountain Park. This is a project that we will have a groundbreaking on coming up here within the next couple of weeks. This is going to be the Fox Den Playground. It's a tribute to the son of David and Brenda Fox, who have been huge, huge supporters of Bays Mountain Park for many, many years. Just shy of $1 million. The overwhelming majority, nearly 3/4 of the funding for this project, have come from over 150 unique donations specifically for this project. So it's something we're very excited about. It adds a very different dynamic to Bays Mountain Park really nothing that we have there is ever compared to this. So this will be an exciting addition for sure. This was a major grant. We had been pursuing a Blue Cross Blue Shield Healthy Places for years. No luck. We had seen what they have done in Memphis. We'd seen Chattanooga, Knoxville, other areas. We just couldn't seem to crack that ceiling to be able to get in there. We had a lot of success during the building of the Miracle Field, the small playground that came there was a Blue Cross Blue Shield. But we wanted something else, and we felt like we had a compelling application. We submitted it a couple years ago, didn't make it, got a phone call a few days after the announcement, said, hey, we really liked your application. Why don't you submit it again? So we submitted it once again, and we were one of, I think, maybe just 2 or 3 projects that Blue Cross awarded this year. $7.8 million total project, 6.5 goes to construction. The balance goes into a sinking fund, if you will, to help with maintenance on this. We anticipate breaking ground on that project shortly after the first of the year. The goal is to have some parts of that open by the end of the calendar year 25. This sits on the banks of the river, Industry Drive, Netherland Inn, right off that roundabout. The Justice Center. This is a project that Ryan has worked on really from day one. As we were exiting City Hall and moving into 415 Broad Street as our new City Hall, the reality was that we needed to go in and make improvements to the Justice Center in order to move those courts and other county spaces out. At the same time, we also realized we had a lot of work that we needed to do within the Justice Center on both the first floor and the second floor. Ryan led a team to begin looking at that. It was very eye-opening for us in many, many ways. First, from a safety and security standpoint, and you'll see a lot of that in the finished product of this, but also just in the modernization of our courts. And that's something that has been in discussion within this county for some time. We continue to believe that it's very, very essential for Kingsport to have a court system here in Kingsport and not solely in Blountville. This renovation will further help solidify that. This is a project, as you can see, currently under construction. The dental clinic. This continues to be a project that is moving at a very, very fast pace. Earlier this year, I went with a group of folks down to Nashville. We had about 15 to 20 minutes to pitch this project in front of the governor with the hope that maybe we would be able to get some money in the budget, this current budget, to go towards this project. We walked out of there feeling really good. A few weeks later, the governor's office called up and said, hey, we'd like to come see what you're doing. Governor came into town. We walked him through the facility. And a few weeks after that, he put $6.5 million into his budget. It was passed. And just a few weeks ago, we received those dollars to begin working towards future phases. The University of Tennessee, through their dental program, East Tennessee State through their dental hygienist program, and now Northeast State through their dental assisting program, create a very unique, almost one-of-a-kind training facility in Kingsport, Tennessee. Where I anticipate this going in the months ahead is a renewed agreement between the University of Tennessee and the City of Kingsport for their commitment to be here. Master planning out the remaining unused spaces within this building, and then beginning to look at the curriculum that UT will be putting in place and what potentially this could mean for Kingsport. In a phone call I had yesterday with the University of Tennessee, they are now asking us, can you support up to 50 students? My response, without talking to the board, was we could support up to 100 students. And I hope that we can. The reality is that they very much see this as an integral part to their operations, the expanded number of students that they are bringing into Memphis, and the need to provide a high level of training. It also ties in very closely with the state initiative through the Healthy Smiles program. And so we feel really good about where this is going to be for our city and really being able to have that opportunity in time to have a full-blown dental school here in Kingsport under the umbrella of UT. The Dome. This was a project not on the radar. You've probably heard us talk about that in the past. I think you had an update on the dome here not too long ago. Definitely was not something that we were looking at in our capital budget. We anticipated a re-roofing, maybe a few adjustments here. Definitely a project we were talking about with the schools, but it was several years out. Unfortunately, it came a lot quicker. Staff, Board of Education members, Board of Mayor and Alderman members had an opportunity to tour the dome Tuesday evening before our business meeting. We walked out of there completely and totally amazed by what they have been able to do. Obviously, Dobyns Bennett is a tremendous source of pride for Kingsport. All the facilities there bring with that a tremendous source of pride. I strongly encourage you all in January when they open the dome back up, beginning having basketball there, to go and see this amazing place. The entry lobby is going to be amazing. The lighting level within the dome is dramatically improved. And the Jumbotron adds something completely different. Of course, I told Dr. Hampton during the tour the other night, my daughter who played volleyball at Dobyns Bennett would love nothing more than be able to come in and take that volleyball and hit it to see if she could hit the Jumbotron. So we'll see how that goes. Main Street. So Ryan mentioned I've been here since 97. In 1999, we started talking about Main Street. And we started looking at a variety of plans, and we started looking at what this would be for Kingsport. The goal constantly, and even looking at Meadowview, and even looking at everything that's been done on the Eastman campus, was how do we take this historic back door into Kingsport and make it our front door? Main Street went from, the understanding that we were going to do something more than just a repaving to a $20+ million project, much of which you can now drive upon. You can see that that is starting to come together. The aesthetics with that will start coming out here in the next several months as we move towards a spring completion of this. We're already seeing an economic impact with that. If you've been by where the old Citizen Supply building used to be, completely redone, very excited about what that could be. Adjacent to that, we got plans the other day for a 30-unit high-end apartment building. So we're already seeing the benefits of this project begin to come together. Just as we are investing in major things throughout the entire city, don't walk out of here and not have the idea that we're not investing in the little things. We continue, as we look through our budget each year, we continue to realize that maintaining what we have at a very high level is very, very important. We have a lot of conversations through the budget process with our board that it's great to build these nice things. It's great to reinvest in the facilities, but it's also essential to do the little things. Aquatic Center, which is hard to believe, is over 10 years old now. Recently went back in, drained all the pools, cleaned them, made some repairs, put in new starting blocks, made improvements to the locker rooms. In addition to that, went outside and did a lot of just TLC to help continue making that facility a very unique facility in our region. Talk a lot about brick and mortar, talk about a lot of the things that are tangible. One of the areas that we're beginning to focus a lot of our attention on has been in smart cities, has been in technology, has been in areas that we recognize we have to make improvements. We are putting assets in the field that are very high technical level, modernized, and trying to make them talk with something that is a DOS-based system located back at City Hall. It doesn't work, and we realize that. And so the board recently approved $2 million to go into a new customer information system. This will be how you as our customer will interface with many components at City Hall, primarily your utility bills, but we're excited with this. Still about a year and a half away from launching it, but it'll also, while this is going on, we have another team that is looking at our financial information system, another multi-million-dollar investment. I'm really proud of the individuals back at City Hall who have taken the bull by the horns on this. This is a daunting task. Most managers will tell you this is really not something they want to be involved in. You can Google this and you can find a lot of cities, some pretty close to us, that have struggled with this. We are taking a much different approach. We have outside consultants working with us. We have an inside team that is helping kind of guide all of our steps along the way. We have built what we call our war room up on the 5th floor of City Hall. We're going to bring this new system up. We're going to run it parallel to the existing system. And once we feel comfortable in deploying it, we will begin to lower the old system and implement the new system. We'll do the same thing with the FIS, and I believe that strategy will lead to success for us. Talk a lot about utilities. Probably don't talk enough about this. This is one of the most capital-intensive assets that we have within the city of Kingsport. We are in the process of investing a lot of the American Rescue Plan money that has been given to Kingsport and Sullivan County into this area and focusing on growth, which is continuing to be a focus area for us, reliability, and reinvestment. Nikki Enzer, our utility director, arguably the best in the state, best in the Southeast, wants to come into work every day for Kingsport. She does a great job, makes a huge difference for you as a customer. Paving. We're thinking about getting out of this business, but when Mayor Shaw decided he wasn't going to run again, we really questioned if we should even do any more paving. $11 million has been what has been invested just this year into paving. We have put together, I feel like, a great approach to addressing this issue within our city. We are data-driven, very much data-driven. This is not, your board members will tell you this, they do not come in and say, I wish you would go pave this street. They ask, what does the data tell us on this street? And we tell them and we say it's scheduled for this year and we're on track to hit it. Tim Elsey, our Assistant Public Works Director, professional engineer, has done a great job in putting together an amazing plan to allow us to move forward with this. This year, last several months especially, we have been doing so much paving in town. I am no longer getting phone calls about when are you going to come pave my road. I'm getting phone calls about your paving is interrupting my daily traffic, my business. I can't get out of my driveway. I can't get my kids dropped off at school. I love those phone calls. I want to talk to those individuals as long as I possibly can so that I can savor that comment. But we continue to invest a lot. We are looking at moving into the fiscal 26 budget in July with an increased amount well above the 3.8 that we have been. We're working on several different strategies to make this happen. We have to be at that level, though, to continue maintaining what we have done. And I truly believe, especially this year, that we're beginning to see a difference throughout the city in the efforts that have been done. Economic development. We talk about paving and economic development more than anything else, with the exception of about 2 months a year, and we talk about Christmas decorations downtown. But these definitely dominate our conversations. We continue to really be aggressive in our approach with economic development. We are doing a lot to get ourselves in front of potential investors. We are doing a lot to make our city, make people aware of our city, I should say. But keep in mind, we are the middleman. We do not own storefronts on Stone Drive. We work with that property owner. We go and then try to recruit, and we try to help make these matches so that we can see these stores exist within our city. We have chosen to invest in several projects. We'll talk about a couple of those here in just a minute. But those investments just this year have generated over $50 million in private investment within our city. Housing definitely continues to be a hot topic in the city. When I look over the last 5.5 years, we've seen over 1,200 permits or 1,200 new homes be built. That could be multifamily, single family. Presently, right now, we have over 1,000. In fact, it's probably, based upon submittals that have come in just this week, probably closer to 1,200 that are in the pipeline. One of the biggest areas, from a density standpoint or growth standpoint for us, is West Kingsport. We continue to see a lot of reinvestment in that. You've probably seen reports, newspaper articles. Maybe you've heard from me in the past talking about Ship Springs, located off Bloomingdale Pike. We kind of consider that West Kingsport still, and we're beginning to look at some exciting development opportunities within that area. Obviously, residential development, I've said this for the last 5 years, I view this as economic development 101. You create a critical mass that drives other development within your city. The housing numbers, the population growth, those statistics have kept us in conversations with national retailers to want to locate in Kingsport, and they're excited about the growth that we continue to see on the horizon. Brickyard Park is a piece of property that we own. The Economic Development Board purchased this several years ago. We have been pursuing the idea of a residential community tied to our downtown. The goal is to put feet on the street. We see this as a great opportunity. Construction is now underway for the first 32 units. They anticipate more to come. We are beginning to talk to them about the second and third phase of that development. Within that development, and especially the third phase, we begin to see the 5-acre green space at the base of Cement Hill begin to go into construction. And so that will be another tremendous asset for us in terms of downtown. But again, increasing population within our city, increasing housing, all of that is the fundamental foundation for strong economic development. These are projects that we have definitely talked about. Of course, Academy was one that we didn't have on our radar. We really hoped we would see. It has gone into the Kingsport Pavilion. It single-handedly has changed the traffic pattern for that shopping center. And trust me, we needed that to happen. We needed more traffic going by Ashley's Furniture. We needed more traffic funneling into the Target and some of the other spaces out there so that we could continue to grow that. It is now, largely because of Academy, become one of the hottest spots in Kingsport as people are trying now to figure out how to get in there because they know how much traffic that they are going to see through Academy. Rural King has submitted plans. They're in a demo phase right now. They are well on their way to being able to open in the first quarter of 25. That, again, is a major traffic generator. One of the reasons we pursued them and tried to connect them to the mall was because they drive traffic. We need them to drive traffic so that we can drive other things into that space. And yes, IMAX is coming. It did get delayed. I cannot begin to tell you how frustrating that was for me and others who have been out talking about this project, but it's good. It's moving. We actually have a presentation next month by John Mulheron with Fort Henry Mall. He's actually with Hull Properties. He is bringing with him the architectural renderings. The architectural plans are basically complete. We're now moving into the civil package. We anticipate having plans on that around the first quarter of next year, and they do plan to begin construction of the IMAX in the first quarter of 25. They're also looking at a major overhaul of that theater space, and we're pushing them to try to do additional things on that property, and we're hopeful that that will continue to happen. So building for the future. So we've talked about some of the things that we've been doing, some of the projects that we're working on, kind of look at where we're going forward. Fire Station 2, this is a project that quite honestly a year and a half ago, we really wanted to include in the bond issue. But as we saw the need to invest more into the Justice Center, and then when the Dome project came across the table, we realized that we needed to sideline this. We'll push that back out to a bond issuance as part of fiscal 26. But this is an exciting project to replace one of the oldest fire stations we have in Kingsport. 2 new elementary schools. So this has been a conversation that we have had for years. What is going to be the move we make into education? We have definitely followed the practice of measure twice, cut once. When we first looked at this, we were going down a path of renovations and additions to Dobbins Bennett, which was done, The second phase being to build a new middle school, and Sullivan North was going to be the site. In a joint meeting with the Board of Education and Board of Mayor and Aldermen several years ago, we started looking at data, and the data was telling us something completely different from what the investment was about to be. Thank God we pulled the brake and we diverted the resources to go back to looking at elementary. The reason we did was that elementary schools across this city are exceeding the capacity that they were designed for. Yes, there are one or two exceptions, but based upon data we have, we know they are moving in that direction. They would like to be somewhere between 85 to 88% capacity at all of their elementary schools. When I talk about the west end of Kingsport and I talk about Washington Elementary, go have a conversation with that principal and ask where are you going to put additional students. They are well over 100% capacity at that school. In addition to that, we have growth areas within Cooks Valley, Indian Springs, also within the Colonial Heights area of our city. While we would have loved to have been able to put an elementary school in the Colonial Heights area, that opportunity did not make itself available to us. So we're now beginning to look at Sullivan North becoming an elementary school, being able to reshift what we have presently at Adams, Johnson, and Jefferson. I got to get all my presidents right. Also looking at a school in Lynn Garden at the Lynn View High School site. This would be a consolidation of Jackson, Kennedy, and Roosevelt. Our goal right now is to look at construction beginning in 2027. In January of 25, both the Board of Education and Board of Mayor and Aldermen will reconvene and we'll have more conversations as to what this might look like in terms of a timeline. Very good possibility, though, based upon our financial analysis that we are doing, we will look at issuing debt for both schools in 2027 so they both can be built at the same time. Yes, that will be expensive, Ken Marsh, but it will be a very sound investment for us going forward. Strategic planning. So in 2004, we developed a strategic plan. And over the last 20 years, the boards, past managers, we've all referenced that plan in some capacity. But the reality was we needed a new plan. And my desire was that we would have a new plan that would be built from the ground up. Right, Dave Light, who was part of that one in 04? He probably still wakes up at night screaming about it. But it was a great plan for us at the time, but we believe this is a great opportunity for us to shift. So we are beginning to go down a path on a strategic plan. We're about halfway through right now. And in fact, next month we'll be pushing this plan out to the citizens of the community. We're going to ask for your input, but we're really beginning to focus on areas that we believe define where we need to be going in the future. The data backs those decisions up, and we will then begin populating each one of these six strategic areas that we have identified, and we want your all's input on that, so more info will be coming out. We're also working on a new comp plan. So this is essential in terms of asking the question, what does our land use plan need to look like going forward? We do this about every 20 years. It's a process that we go through with our planning commission, our planning department. That'll be yet another opportunity for the community to be involved, to help us craft what the land use needs to look like going forward. I have asked our staff in the planning department to also include past studies that we have made investments in. So the downtown master plan, Lynn Garden corridor study, also looking at the Center Street corridor study, the John B. Dennis study that's currently underway. I want to have one document that it has all of those plans in it. So when we are referencing back to various things, we have that history instead of just putting a plan on the shelf and forgetting about it. This is a major step for us. This is something I'm glad we are doing. We are doing our best to make sure that it truly is coming from the ground up, involving as many people as we can within our organization. I feel that is so very important to produce a plan that the 800 employees of the city of Kingsport can say, that defines what I do, and that mission of the statement defines what I do each and every day. If you're not connected with us, please take some time to do this. I have stated this many times. You all are definitely a reflection of this. You represent the positive attitudes that exist within our community in a time when there is not a lot of positivity that occurs throughout our country. I encourage you all to stay informed. We average one press release a day through City Hall of various things that we are doing or programs that we are offering. If you're not following us on social media, please check out Kingsport Alerts. Check out This is Kingsport. We're also now on Instagram, Facebook. We've got them about all covered. You can watch our business meetings on YouTube. So please make sure that you are informed so that when someone tells you something, you'll know if you have the facts right. We've been able to achieve a tremendous amount over the last 11 months. Since the last time we put this together over the last 12 months. We have an outstanding team with the City of Kingsport that really helps bring all of these things home each and every day. John will tell you as a city manager, when you've got an amazing team, you can do some amazing things, and we definitely have that within the City of Kingsport. I thank you all for what you do and what you represent within our community, and I'll turn this over to